a family that trusted in the Lord and asked Him to watch over us. And many times He did. As a boy of about 10, 11 years of age, I'd done a lot of caddying at the golf course. I would go out and walk around the golf course carrying that golf bag for the men that had the money for 25 cents a round. Then I would come home, and I didn't spend the money on myself. I would stop at the store and buy something to eat. In those days, you could buy salt fish for little or nothing, and pork brains was fairly cheap. Bread was 3 cents a loaf. Sugar was 10 pounds for 19 cents. Prices was quite a bit different, but there was very little money. I know at times we have gotten down to where it was very low, but we always had something to eat. I remember on one occasion where there was 6 of us children and Mother and Dad, that I stopped and I bought salt fish for our meal. When Mother cooked the salt fish, there was only 7 salt fish. So she decided that she really didn't feel like eating any salt fish. But when we all sat down to the table, and I know there was only 7 there when they were fried, but when the plate was passed around, everyone had a salt fish. Where the 8 salt fish came from, we could only but know that God had supplied our need. There was never a mode of transportation in our home except walking. And this we done unless we were able to get a ride with someone else. I think of one particular instance when they were going to have a family reunion, and we knew that there would be lots of food there to eat because most all of our other family were farmers, and they had something that they could kind of fall back onto. Whereas city dwellers, we didn't have a great lot to fall back on. Mother told us on Saturday that if we just had enough money to get some raisins, she would make some raisin pie and we would be able to go to the reunion. Because we were not actually a proud people, but we liked to contribute to whatever we could. So there was no money in the house, and I asked permission to take a walk. And I started walking up and down the street, all over town, looking, watching, hoping to find some money so that I could buy some raisins. I had walked a great distance around over town, around the square in the city of Sheraton, just looking, wishing. And as a boy with childlike faith in God, I just asked God if He would supply our need. And it came back to me, a voice in my mind said, just keep walking. And I did. It wasn't too long before I spotted a shiny dime laying on the sidewalk. I picked up the dime and went to the grocery store, and there I purchased a 3-pound bag of raisins for 10 cents. This we were able to go to the reunion. I remember the Sunday morning as it came up. Uncle Lester, who was real close to us, to our family, being my mother's brother, he stayed with us a lot, as did my grandmother Holder. And Uncle Ed came with his Model T Ford touring car with the open side windows, and we proceeded into the country out to my Uncle George's, where we had the family reunion. There we ate until I thought sure we would burst, because this was what we might have to live on for a little while. Times were hard. It was about this time that Dad, working in the mine, was caught in the fall of slate. And there was nothing coming in. As they brought Dad home with his legs bruised and broken, there was nothing to do but to do our best and trust in God. I did all the work as caddying I could do at the country club. I would bring the money home, and Mother would wisely buy the ingredients that it took to make cookies and donuts and cupcakes, homemade bread, and this we would take and start down the street, knocking on all the doors in what was then considered the rich man's part of town, selling our wares and doing our best to get some money so that we could make ends meet. And then as time wore on, as it came into the winter time, we knew that we were going to have fuel, and in those days we burnt mostly coal. I would take a 5-gallon bucket, go walking along the railroad tracks, and there I would pick up coal that had fallen from the passing steam locomotives. And a 5-gallon bucket of coal is heavy for a little boy to carry. This we would do, gather all the coal that we could. There would be other people walking, gathering up coal. Some people would wait until the train was coming up the hill just outside of Sheraton. They would board the train that had coal cars on and throw coal off, and then go back and pick it up after the train had left. We never did that, but we were never actually cold, because God did supply our need. And then as the winter wore on, it was one of the worst winters that we had known for many years. Dad was able to go back to work. We had a little money, but very little, just enough to keep us warm, to help keep us fed. And then one night there came a great blizzard. Dad was very fortunate. He got out of the line and was able to get home. But many of the miners were trapped, and they had to dig by shovel to get to them. Through the big snowdrifts, they would go to try to bring them in. It was quite a chore. Then as spring broke forth, we always tried to have a garden, and we would live a great deal out of our garden. We would work. Then I worked for a lady who had kind of a truck patch, picking asparagus, weeding plants. We got to pay of 10 cents an hour. And sometimes I would make as high as $2.50. in a week. This was quite a deal. $2.50, and that back there in those days, you could buy 100 pound of potatoes for 59 cents, 50 pound of flour for 59 cents. You could really buy a lot with 2.5. It doesn't sound like much now, but you could buy an awfully lot. I remember in the school year, the volunteer fire department always had a fire prevention week poster contest. I remember having the teacher, Mrs. Newell, as she gave me the construction paper, and I made a poster. The poster, as I remember it now, had a great bonfire and had a picture of a monkey that was burning the trash. And the captation on the poster said, "Don't, monkey, let Dad burn the trash." I was very happy, but it was announced that I was the grand winner for the city of Sheraton. I had won the tremendous amount of $1 for first prize. But this wasn't too bad, because with that dollar, I went down to the J.C. Penney store, and there I bought me a shirt, a chambray shirt for 39 cents. I bought me a pair of bib overalls for 49 cents. And I had enough money left over that I bought a big sack of candy, because then candy was probably not more than 5 cents a pound. There were many wonderful days. And then as I got another job, I had worked quite hard delivering circulars all over town for the supply store, which is now the Hy-Vee food store. And we were in church on a Sunday evening when I took sick. I was taken home, and there I was put to bed, and almost immediately I lost consciousness. The old doctor came, Dr. Jarvis, and as he so did, he told the folks there was not too much hope for Harold, that he had rheumatic fever. As time wore on, and I was delirious with a tremendously high fever, the doctor was really encouraging, because he told my parents that if I did live, because of the high fever, my brain might be damaged. Well, there's still a debatable subject whether it was or not now, but I made it through. And it was just after I'd been sick for a tremendously long time, I came out and I was weak, but I made it through. But during the days of the Depression, we had very little money. While I was convalescing at home, getting over the rheumatic fever, Mother did the laundry for the doctor. Dr. Jarvis would have 25, maybe 30 white shirts a week. And so while I was home, I'll pay all I could to pay on the doctor bill. I learned to iron white shirts not with a fancy iron like we have today, but it was much different. We did have a gas iron that was hit by gas, and some of it we had on the stove. But then, we never had much. We never needed much. But we were happy, and we came through. I never missed too many meals. And usually if I missed a meal it's because I was out playing someplace. But we used to have a great time. We didn't always have electricity in the home. And so therefore there was no radio, television. They didn't know what it was then. But as we would lay on the floor by the heating stove and the kerosene light, we would read the books that we were able to get together. We would tell stories. Of many different things that had happened. I guess maybe one of the greatest times that I can think about would be when all the lights would be turned down low and Dad would tell us ghost stories. Many, many times I went to bed pretty much afraid, but not wanting to admit it. And so therefore, trying to bolster my own spirits, I would proceed to scare my three sisters out of their wits. Of course, I would somewhat be in trouble for this. I guess Lynn and I was about as ornery as they made them in those days. Many things we done. We didn't have the money to go a lot of places. And I remember many times that the old ice wagon would come up the street selling ice. And we used to have a card that we put in the window that said 5 pounds, 10 pounds, 25 pounds of ice. Of course, we weren't too much interested in the big chunks of ice. We wanted the little chunks that got chipped off. And as the iceman would come along, many times when we would run up to the back of the horse-drawn wagon, there wouldn't be any little chunks of ice. But as he would see a window card that said they wanted 15 pounds of ice, he would always be conveniently missing where he wanted to chip and knock off the chunk of ice. And that was a great part of our day when we would get a chunk of ice. Another one would be that when we would earn a nickel, maybe mowing the lawn for a quarter, maybe even 15 cents. But then we would get permission to go to town, to Cobb's Ice Cream Parlor. There we would get a triple-decker ice cream cone for a dime. Really wonderful ice cream. There are many things that happened then. It was hard sometimes when you seen other children with more than you had. It was hard when you heard them talk about the good meals they had, and we hadn't had them. But then that money and possessions are not everything. For in our home, we had love. We would fight with each other. Likewise, we would fight for each other. We were a great bunch. Many heartaches, many sorrows, but many beautiful and happy times. Many times during the winter, I wasn't privileged to go to school too much because there was many things that had to be done. Besides helping to make a living, to feed the family, Dad and I would get up sometimes at 4 o'clock in the morning and walk 5 and 6 miles into the timber. And there with maybe an egg sandwich or a peanut butter sandwich, we would work all day in the snow, in the cold, cutting wood. Not with a chainsaw like we have today, but with a crosscut saw and an axe. And we would cut wood all day, come home at night. Then there we would find a fire waiting for us and a good meal, a hot meal. Not all the frills that we think of today, but with fried potatoes that we had diligently stored in the cellar. Then there would be gravy. It wouldn't be sometimes milk gravy, maybe water gravy. Mother used to call it common sop, but it was always good. And then, on a certain day of the week, I would take my covered cream can that we had, the 3-gallon cream can, and I would walk about 5 miles out to some friends of ours, and there I would get this can full of milk and head back for home. This was wonderful. It was good milk, and we had a marvelous time. It helped us to have good friends. I'll never forget, Dad got $1, and he sent away to Del Rio, Texas, and he got what was called crazy water crystals, and that was so much fun. He would mix the crystals up in a gallon jug with water and set it outdoors to cool, because then we didn't have refrigerators. We had an ice box, but you could set it out in the snow and get it colder than in the ice box. But that crazy water crystals was as near we came to having pop as it was. The fizz would tickle your nose as you drank it, but it was wonderful to be able just to have it. Well, Annette, I hope this has helped you. I hope you can get something good from it. I've rambled on quite long enough. But Lynette, When you stop to think about the past, the family, now when we go to bed at night, usually the children are out someplace, to a party, to a friend's house. Mother and Dad slips into bed and listens and waits for the children to come home. But then, back there, the children were always home. They went to bed. Mother and Father tucked them in and told them good night. Then the light was blown out, and all was darkness. And you had a real good feeling. Cuddle down in an old straw tick or a feather mattress, knowing that just over in the other next room was Mother and Father, and all was secure. We miss those things now because our way of life has changed. As I talk to you now, I'm traveling down Interstate number 74 in the state of Illinois. I'm headed for Peoria, Illinois. The automobile that we went to the reunion in cost about $350, brand new. The truck that I'm driving now is worth about $40,000. Times have changed. Money has changed. People's lives have changed. Did I have a good time in the Depression? Yes, Lynette. I wouldn't trade it for all that we have today. Because back there was love, and there was joy, and there was companionship. There were heartaches. There was times when you were hungry, but we made it through. So, Lynette, as you listen to this, think about your life and how you will spend it. Your childhood, your teenage years are the best years of your life. Live it so that you can look back on it with love and appreciation, even as I do today. Lynette, thanks a million for asking me to share some of my thoughts of past life with you. We love you. Ask us anytime if you need some help. Bye for now.